Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is a Rice News analyst, Emmanuel Efeni. Good morning, Emmanuel.
Good morning, Ruben. Good morning, Rufai.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Ojinika Okpe. Ginix.
100%. I told you he was going to get it. 100%.
It sounded like you have been practicing that since 6 years in order to get it right.
No, instinctively.
Oh my goodness.
That's let's clap for him in Robo language.
How are you this morning, Mr.
Yes,
Efeni?
I'm cool.
All right.
Now let's look at the newspapers, starting with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. The lead story, Buhari, Osinbajo. Northern Elders Forum, Christian Association of Nigeria, Flay killing of pregnant woman, children in Anambra. Those behind barbarous killings in Southeast will be hounded by security forces. Presidency assures. Soludo declares curfew in 8 local government areas, bans Okada, tricycle operations on Mondays. Zulum confirms 32 persons killed by Boko Haram in weekend attack in Kalabarge. Lawan holds campaign in honor of murdered Bono farmers. Now, terrorists attack Masary's local government, abduct 2 Catholic priests, Ekwa pastor others. Yes, this gale of killings still everywhere. Of course, we took some of these stories yesterday, but the president reacting, the vice president reacting, Northern Elders Forum reacting. But again, until persons who perpetrate this kind of brutal murder are brought to book, all the sympathies from the presidency and the assurances were just like blowing hot air. But we cannot continue like this. Clearly, as a country where life seems to be so cheap. As for Governor Soludo, well, his hands are full because it's like these persons tagged unknown gunmen. IPOB says they are not the one. Their affiliate, Eastern Security Network, denying they are not the one. Then who are the people perpetrating this evil in the Southeast? Now, many people cannot even go to their villages. Asaba has now become the home of many from across the Niger because they are not secured in their homeland. Traditional rulers are also relocating because they are easy target of these criminals who operate under various guise. Now, if we just look at other stories quickly, how other newspapers are reporting stories of the day. Yes, the Guardian newspaper, 2023, Obi quits PDP, eyes Labour NPP tickets. PDP, Northern Elders look to North Central for candidate. Insist consensus is pathway to stability. Legal move to stop PDP presidential primary fails. APC chair hints on consensus speak for party's presidential flag bearer. Now, if we just look at the Punch newspaper, yes, shock as Peter Obi downs PDP protest, mar governorship primaries. Obi Kwankwanso talk coalition. Niger primary shifted. Youths stony Shaku convoy. Gunshots in Adebutu. Lawa supporters clash. Disrupt Ogun PDP primaries. Opponent kicks as Makinde wins. Ekweremadu, Abaribe, others withdraw. Now, the Daily Independent, accusations of hijack greet PDP's governorship primaries. Abaribe, Ekweremadu, Luke, Albert, Guzo, Maku, others boycott exercise. Fintiri, Makinde, Ikone, Oba, Eno, Mba, Kashim, Oborowori, Bade Adediran others pick tickets. Now, the Daily Sun newspaper, 2023 anxiety crisis, rock PDP. Peter Obi pulls out of presidential primary, alleges gang up, dump party. Now, the Daily Trust newspaper, Lamido's son, yes, in Jigawa, the son of former Foreign Affairs Minister, one-time presidential aspirant himself, Sule Lamido, his son, has picked the ticket to be the next governor of Jigawa State. Well, we'll see whether he will scale the next hurdle, which is the general election. Bauchi governor appears on ballot despite presidential bid. Fintiri Makinde secure return ticket. Ekweremadu Abaribe Guzo Maku pull out. Now, the Vanguard newspaper, presidency. Jonathan still in the race. Puts APC screening on hold. Ex-president's emergence as consensus candidate gains momentum. North prefers him to other APC contenders, says source in GEJ's camp. Bayelsa APC chairman to consult register to confirm Jonathan's membership. Yes, the name of former president is not about to go away until APC picks his presidential candidate. I'm sure we'll continue to hear the name of former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan in the mix. Now, the Business Day newspaper, investor to exit stocks for fixed income on rate hike. Yes, the impact of the rate hike by the MPC. Investors thinking of exiting their stock for fixed income on rate hike. Now, the Nation newspaper, yes, outgoing governor's men pick PDP ticket in states. Yes, Lagos, Olajide Adeniran, Adamawa, Fintiri, Oyo, Makinde. Of course, quite outstanding there is Delta State, not because it's my state, but the fact.
Are you sure?
No, not necessarily, because Ifeanyi Okowa, the governor of Delta State, cool, calm and calculated, seem to have dethroned the one they call Ogidigbo Igbo. Yes, that's former governor James Ibori. Because James Ibori's man, David Edewe, was beaten hands down. Yes, coincidentally, the Yoruba Progress Union endorsed David Edewe as the choice of the Yoruba people. But, well, it's something for party members, not for ethnic group. Yes. So, David, Sheriff. What they say in Delta now is that there's a new sheriff in town. Sheriff Oborewori, well, but he still has another hurdle to scale because he will be facing the deputy Senate president, most likely Senator Ovie Omoagege, who, by the way, is a product of the Ibori School of Politics. So it's going to be a very...
And also, who was a likely candidate of Ibori in 2007 before things changed and Emmanuel Oweta Oduana was used.
It was a plan B of James Ibori before Oduana picked the ticket. So it's going to be some kind of, battle for the governorship of Delta State. But again, Senator Okowa, we'll see how far he goes. But he has made a statement with this victory of Sheriff, the Speaker of the Delta State House of Assembly. Of course, there are other areas where the governors had their way. But I just want to look at the pullout of the withdrawal of persons like Ekweremadu, Senator Abaribe, because they were actually against the tide. Party stakeholders in Enugu said, look, this time around, it should go to Enugu East. Senator Ekweremadu from Enugu West decided to stake his claim. And of course, he had to pull out. Otherwise, perhaps he would have been given the beating of his life in politics. And he's been a man who has come a long way, winning from the local government, several elections, Senate. So perhaps just to avoid that disgrace of being beaten, hands down, he pulled out. Eyinaya Abaribe, the same thing, because the current governor is from Ukwa-Ungwa, where he comes from. I know what it took for the people of Abia to say, no, it's the turn of Ukwa-Ungwa. Now, after Ukwa-Ungwa man has done 8 years, Eyinaya Abaribe, who is from that area, also wants to go. Of course, the people said no, and I think he had to eat humble pie by pulling out. Yes, Reuben, Rufai, and Ginix.
So a lot of them have been hitting the strategic humble pie, if there's anything like that. Because when they look at the political calculation, obviously, it's definitely not going to favor them. And you talked about Ike Ekweremadu, for instance. The PDP had said frontally in the state that it was going to a certain zone, and Ekweremadu was not from that zone. So obviously, he knew it was not going to happen. And just a day before, the governor did say, okay, this is my anointed person in Peter Umba. And Peter Umba went out there in the race. He did very well. He beat about 16 other people to be able to clinch the ticket. He's a close associate of the governor, was former commissioner in the state. And apart from that, he's an entrepreneur. You know, a lot of people say, yeah, there's also the factor of the spending power and the likes. But it's part of that zoning thing that is coming out to play again. And that's why when people at the PDP in the center say, no, yeah, okay, we want to shelve this for this period in time, then a lot of people look at them and say, the PDP might not necessarily be very honest as regards the zoning matter. Now, because, yes, it's not in the Constitution, yes, it's not codified, but it's a convention that everybody agrees on. And that's always the case. When you look at Delta, it's going to be a fight to finish. You see, some people have been saying in different places, yeah, that this is the end of the Ibori dynasty. But I say, don't write off Ibori too early. You know, this might lead to many things. There's one analogy. The first analogy is, a lot of people are saying maybe Oko had gone to speak to Ibori about it, but I say I doubt that.
No, they'll continue to speak about things.
Yeah, but I said I doubt that.
But he has been bruised.
Yeah, he's been bruised. David Adewe is still in the race.
Because, you know, Ibori once said that some people want to disgrace him.
Disgrace him.
Has he been disgraced politically?
Okay. So, in fact, I would say 1-1. You know why I would say 1-1? Because you saw that the race between Ibori's daughter and the other Okowa's candidate was a fight to finish.
Yes, it went down the wire.
Down the wire.
Had to be
it was on the rerun that Ibori's daughter triumphed. I would say 1-0. This one is 2-0 now. But despite the result, you will still see that David Adewe still stands a better chance, maybe in the coming elections, because he's still Ibori's candidate. Because apart from the other candidate, he's the only one that got over 100 votes. In fact, the incumbent deputy governor, Otwaro, I'm not sure he got up to 10 votes.
I did not want to go there. That the deputy governor was so
he didn't even, I think he got 5 or 6 votes or thereabouts. He was roundly beaten, then Sheriff. There are permutations. Like you said rightly, Oviomo Agege has a pre-existing relationship with Chief James Onanefe Ibori. Would there be a coalition between Oviomo Agege and Onanefe Ibori? And you see, this analogy, and people should be careful, the PDP should be careful in Delta. This analogy that they always say that Delta is PDP state, I don't believe that analogy. And I'll tell you why. In 2007, with an unknown DPP, with no structure.
with structure.
No, as I said, with known structure, got over 500,000 votes. It was just only narrowly that Chief Emmanuel Oweta Oduaga did beat Great Ogboru in that election. Great Ogboru came second. And we know how the elections were disputed. So if somebody with no structure went to a new party, not the big wigs, could mount that kind of fight, how much more an Oviomo Agege that has some bit of federal might, that is a known politician, and that is also of the Urobo stock, and also has historical antecedents, being the son of a prominent man in Delta State. I'm talking about
Justice Omo Agege.
So the PDP should be careful.
No, I think even where the joker is, before we just leave the Delta, it's like we are dwelling too much on Delta. No, where the joker seems to be is that Ovie, Omar Agege, and others were all stock of were from the PDP stock have been saying, we know how then they do them. That is another matter.
See, I was making the point earlier on about the lesson of history. In many of these PDP states, what has happened from the governorship primaries, which may be further compounded by the presidential primaries this weekend, is that the party is divided in many places. Now, and that will give advantage to the opposition. Take a state like Enugu, for example. Yes, there is an understanding that, it's been zoned to the Enugu East Senatorial District. But do you expect, do you imagine that Senator Ike Kuremadu, with the manner in which he withdrew from the race, would readily provide the support for the candidate that has emerged? And he himself is, a very important politician in the state. The zoning formula may not favor him, okay? Because the governor says this is where it must go, and the governor and the traditional council in Enugu State had insisted that all the 17, aspirants, as they then were, with the exception of one person, Professor Edelga, who did not attend that particular meeting, must sign a memorandum of understanding. You can't compel people to come forward and say we will support, okay? Now, if we take Rivers and all those other states where somebody has been anointed, Rivers, Taraba, Sheyi Makinde coming back as incumbent, Pastor Uno in Akwa Ibom, Ibrahim Kashim in Bauchi, who is the choice of Governor Bala Mohammed, who now wants to, attempt to be a presidential flag bearer. Those parties are divided. I cited the examples of Adamawa, and what it means, therefore, is that all these candidates that have emerged at the governorship level, they will have a lot of work to do to ensure unity within the party. And I speak from experience. Look at Ogun State.
In fact, Ruben, I was going about that you should know better.
Now, with the way the party is divided, a three-way conflict. You have Shegun Shoumi, who organized, who belongs to a faction. You have Jimmy Lawal. You have Honorable Ladi Adebutu. Look, you are likely to see a fight to finish within the PDP in Ogun State because the factions are so many. Okay, and yesterday there were even gunshots in Ogun State, just as there were angry youths, going about with stones in Taraba, and the other day we had reports of, even violence in some other parts of the country. So this is the problem. In Ogun State, you may even say by now, except the APC creates problems of their own, because they have problems of their own, the PDP may have automatically given them an advantage. And the whole issue is about internal democracy. After the 2019 general elections, the chairman of the INEC, Professor Yakubu Mahmoud, the major point he was making is that these political parties, if they do not focus on internal democracy, fairness and justice among their ranks, going forward, they will just discover that they will just keep creating problems for the party. Look, in Adamawa, with Fintiri, making sure certain persons were disqualified, I've seen a few comments in the last 24 hours saying that, look, you may have a Samfara situation in Adamawa this time around. And there was a piece somebody wrote and said, Fintiri's temporary victory. So 2023 will probably see an outcome like no other, in terms of people contesting all of these processes. And there are also pre-election cases. So many in the PDP.
In fact, there will be more. There will be more now.
Yeah, there are pre-election cases, and before the election itself, you could have more.
Well,
that was why I wrote the other day that it looks like it's harvest time for
the lawyers.
Mr. Efeni, really quickly, we have very little time.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on the main topic of the day.
Peter Obi. Yes, in fact, I was going to throw that to you because having crisscrossed the country, 35 states and federal capital he visited.
No, he didn't visit the federal capital territory. That was
Okay.
the only exception.
No,
He went to every other.
he did not go to Adamawa.
Okay.
As
Yes,
well,
Adamawa,
okay.
out of respect for, of course, we want to say,
Okay.
yes.
So what do you think about that exit?
Now-
And
What could have led to this? They have not picked a candidate, so you won't say, oh, he was not picked, but he must have seen a trend. What was the message? The feedback he got from his tour, because his message was very clear. Yes. Well, Obi's message resonated well outside the party, so it seems. But within the hierarchy, it's like either they don't want this kind of man who will get there and shake the table,
yeah.
or there was a deliberate attempt to block him. But where does he go next?
That's the main question.
If
of
he
the day.
goes to any other party, will
Are
he get
Nigerians ready?
will he
for
get
the-
automatic tickets?
Right.
Certainly, nobody expects to see him as a running mate anywhere.
Absolutely.
Some people are in
Thank
fact
you.
saying, is Mr. Obi out of the PDP because of the statements he's been making about not allowing people to spend dollars?
This kind of man,
Anyway, that's what they like that side.
he will shut the vote and take
Only
the
allowed
key
to
away.
use naira. That's what he said.
No, but we need to hear from Peter Obi.
Yes, we need to.
Where next?
Right.
Well,
Thank you.